when I found 98 brand new houses worth $34 million sitting on land I'd owned for 30 years that CAMB Karen thought she'd pulled off the perfect heist. Too bad she just handed me the deed to her entire subdivision. Picture coming home to discover an entire neighborhood where your cattle used to graze, families unpacking U-Hauls, kids chalking driveways, all on your property without permission. Victoria Ashworth had the audacity to serve me with a restraining order, claiming I was threatening families with surveying equipment. This woman stole my land, then painted me as the dangerous neighbor, terrorizing innocent children. What she didn't know: my grandfather's 1,924 contract means every house she built automatically became mine the moment they poured the first foundation. Soon shed. Learn why you never steal from a land surveyor who's been documenting property theft for 40 years, especially when federal law is on your side. Before we dive in, what would you do if someone built 98 houses on your land? Drop your revenge fantasies below and tell me where you're watching from. My name is Ezekiel Thornfield. Friends call me Zeke and what you might call old school Tennessee stubborn. At 67, I've spent 40 years as a land surveyor, walking property lines and settling boundary disputes across 3 counties. My grandfather left me 847 acres of prime rolling hills back in '94, along with a piece of advice. Boy, never trust a man who measures land without getting his boots muddy. The morning mist here in Millbrook County carries the sweet scent of honeysuckle mixed with diesel exhaust from the interstate. That's progress creeping into farm country, I suppose. Every dawn, it'd walk my fence lines with black coffee, listening to gravel crunch under my boots while checking for storm damage. And the metallic taste of well water and the earthy smell of cattle reminded me this was real farming, not the suburban fantasy taking over Tennessee. My late wife Martha used to say I kept property records like other men, collect baseball cards obsessively, and with pride that borders on insanity. When she passed 5 years ago, our 2 kids moved off to chase city dreams in Portland and Atlanta. Can't blame them for wanting more excitement than watching grass grow, but it left me rattling around a 1,952 farmhouse with just my heritage cattle and memories. Enter Victoria Ashworth. Call me Vicky, the kind of woman who treats a clipboard like a nuclear weapon and speaks in passive-aggressive corporate speak that could make Gandhi throw punches. At 52, she's mastered that suburban CAMB president look, blonde, highlights fresh from the salon-white Lexus SUV detailed weekly, and the dead-eyed smile of someone who's reported neighbors for having the wrong shade of mailbox. Vicky's married to Brad Ashworth, our town councilman, which around Sweetwater Springs means she thinks she's royalty. For 8 years, she had been circling my property like a buzzard, sending intermediaries with insulting offers for my unused pasture land. The smell of desperation was stronger than her department store perfume. Every time she showed up uninvited with another generous proposal. The real trouble started when I returned from a 3-week visit, helping my daughter Sarah through a messy divorce in Oregon. I'd been looking forward to getting back to my quiet routine coffee at sunrise, checking cattle, maybe fixing fence posts if I felt ambitious. You know, the kind of retirement that doesn't involve conference calls or CAMB drama. But driving up my gravel driveway, something felt wrong. Instead of cattle lowing and meadowlarks singing, I heard the suburban symphony of lawnmowers humming and children shrieking. Sounds that had no business being on my back 40 acres. I grabbed my surveying equipment and headed toward the noise, figuring maybe some kids were trespassing or a family had broken down near my property line. Walking through my pasture, the air carried unfamiliar scents of fresh asphalt and new lumber instead of wildflowers and creek water. What I found made my coffee mug slip from my hands and explode against a limestone rock. 98 pristine houses spread across my land like a suburban infection, manicured lawns where my Angus cattle used to graze. A decorative stone entrance reading Heritage Meadows, estates in script, fancier than a wedding invitation. Families unpacking U-Haul's kids, drawing chalk masterpieces on driveways, golden retrievers, chasing tennis balls. The whole American dream package, built on every acre of my back pasture. I stood there gawking like a tourist, wondering if I'd somehow driven to the wrong county. But there was my grandfather's oak tree with Martha's initials carved in the bark. There was Willow Creek, where I'd learned to fish. This was definitely my land, but somebody had turned it into suburbia without bothering to ask permission. That's when Vicky materialized in a golf cart, wearing an official CAMB badge, rolling toward me like she owned the place, which, judging by her smug expression, she absolutely believed she did. "Excuse me, sir," she announced in that syrupy tone that immediately made my jaw clench. "This is private property heritage. Meadows is a gated community for residents and invited guests only." I looked around at my trees, my creek, the land where my grandfather taught me to respect property boundaries, and realized I was about to get a masterclass in small-town corruption. "Ma'am," I said, keeping my voice steady, despite wanting to explode, "I think there's been some kind of mistake. This is my property, has been since 1994. Vicky's laugh sounded like fingernails on a chalkboard. "Oh, honey, I am afraid you're confused. The Heritage Meadows development was purchased legally from Millbrook Development Corporation 2 years ago." She pulled out a folder thick enough to choke a horse, flipping through pages with the confidence of someone who had never been challenged. "See right here, 847 acres, purchased for fair market value. I am sure this is just a surveying error on your part." The condescension in her voice made my blood pressure spike. But 40 years of dealing with property disputes taught me to document everything and stay calm when someone's trying to rob you blind. "Mind, if I see those documents, I am not legally required to share private CAMB business with trespassers." She sniffed, clutching that folder, like it contained nuclear launch codes. "But I'll tell you what, I'm feeling generous today. These families have children starting school in 2 weeks. Surely we can work out some arrangement that doesn't disrupt their lives." That's when I knew this wasn't a mistake. This was a con job wrapped in suburban righteousness. 3 days later, Deputy Mike Ashworth knocked on my door with papers and a smirk that told me everything about getting fair treatment in this county. The restraining order claimed I'd trespassed on Heritage Meadows property and threatened residents with surveying equipment in a menacing manner. Apparently carrying a measuring tape now qualified as brandishing a weapon. The order prohibited me from entering my own back. 40, and Mike made sure to mention that violation meant jail time. Vicky wasn't done flexing her suburban warfare muscles within a week. Every Heritage Meadows resident received a letter about the unstable former landowner who posed a potential safety risk to families and children. She organized a neighborhood safety committee that patrolled my property line with the dedication of border guards, snapping photos of me feeding my own cattle like I was running a meth lab. The social media assault came next. Vicky posted side-by-side photos on the Sweetwater Springs Facebook group. My weathered farmhouse versus the pristine subdivision, claiming my unkempt property was attracting vermin and lowering property values. The comment section exploded into digital warfare between locals who knew my family and newcomers who bought Vicky's performance hook, line, and sinker. But here's where 40 years of surveying experience pays dividends. While Vicky was busy playing victim online, I drove to the county courthouse and started pulling records. The filing fee for that supposed property transfer caught my eye immediately. $50 measly. Back in my early days surveying, I learned that Tennessee requires big property transfers to have notarized affidavit with multiple witnesses and filing fees that match the transaction size. This smelled fishier than week-old catfish. The real smoking gun was the notary stamp Eleanor Hutchkins, Had handled real estate closings for 3 decades. Sweet old lady who made the best peach cobbler in the county. The problem was, Eleanor died 6 months before she allegedly notarized my property transfer. Unless she was signing documents from the great beyond, somebody had forged her stamp. I called my old surveyor buddy, Clarence Bulldog Mackenzie, who's forgotten more about property law than most lawyers ever learn. Bulldog spent 2 days with his GPS equipment, walking every inch of my boundaries, spitting tobacco juice, and muttering about amateur hour fraud attempts. "Zeke," he finally said, "your property lines are accurate, within 6 inches. That whole subdivision is sitting on your land like fleas on a hound dog." While I was building my case, Vicky escalated to psychological warfare. Sentinel Security Services started patrolling Heritage Meadows in golf carts. With radio headsets like my Angus cattle posed a terrorist threat. Then came the state licensing board complaint, claiming I was mentally declining and dangerous to public safety. Her evidence, insisting on accessing my own property. The county piled on by threatening to condemn my farmhouse as a public nuisance. Apparently 70 years of honest wear made my home an eyesore compared to the cookie-cutter McMansion squatting on my pasture. That evening, checking my fence line in the dying light, I noticed something that made my skin crawl. Security cameras hidden in my oak trees, with cables snaking back toward Heritage Meadows. The acid smell of electrical connections and fresh-cut plastic told the story. They'd been tapping into my power meter to run surveillance equipment. Years ago, I'd helped a client catch copper thieves using an electromagnetic field detector from the hardware store, and the same technique revealed months of unauthorized monitoring. I sat in Martha's garden as crickets chirped, and the scent of her climbing roses filled the evening air, wondering if I should just take whatever money Vicky offered and retire somewhere warm. Then I remembered my grandfather's words. After the railroad company tried to steal our mineral rights back in '89. "Son, when someone tries to steal your land, they're not just taking dirt. They're stealing your family's history." Martha had agreed, writing in her journal that night. Zeke never backs down from protecting what's right. Time to honor that legacy. 2 weeks later, Vicky pulled her media card channel. 7 News rolled up to Heritage Meadows like they were covering a presidential assassination, complete with satellite truck and enough camera equipment to film a Hollywood movie. The story: elderly man's delusions threaten young families. They interviewed concerned mothers clutching designer babies, painted me as a confused hermit living in the past, and gave Vicky 5 uninterrupted minutes to perform her Oscar-worthy victim routine. "We just want to live peacefully," she sobbed, dabbing eyes, with tissues that looked suspiciously dry. "It breaks my heart to see someone so confused. But we can't let one person's mental decline endanger our children." The segment made me look like the villain in a Lifetime movie about suburban terror. But while Vicky was busy winning Emmy Awards for fake crying, I was doing what surveyors do best, following paper trails and connecting dots. My property insurance got canceled. The next morning, the letter claimed significant change in land usage, voided my policy based on aerial photos showing residential development. Now here's something interesting. I learned helping my neighbor Jim catch insurance fraud. Back in '03, agents often use inside access to trigger cancellations, leaving victims vulnerable right before something unfortunate happens. Turns out, little Vicky worked part-time for Mutual Trust Insurance, the same company that dropped me. Shed used her database access to sabotage my coverage, timing it perfectly. With her legal assault, the legal system revealed its true face when Judge Harold Peton scheduled an emergency hearing. Peton golfed with Brad every Thursday and owned stock in 3 development companies. Conflict of interest wasn't in his vocabulary. My court-appointed attorney showed up smelling like bourbon and mispronounced my name twice before advising me to accept reality and negotiate. When I demanded a jury trial, they postponed indefinitely, probably hoping it'd die of old age first. Meanwhile, Vicky convinced Heritage Meadows families that their property values would crater if the crazy old man won. She created a defense fund and collected $50,000 for legal expenses. Funny how that money funded the Ashworth's European vacation brads. Facebook photos from Tuscany wine tours were quite educational. The residents organized car washes and bake sales, unknowingly funding their own exploitation with the enthusiasm of cult members. I wasn't sitting idle, though every conversation got recorded on my smartphone using an app Sarah installed with timestamps and GPS coordinates that would hold up in federal court. Trail cameras went up around my property perimeter, all positioned legally, but capturing every bit of their harassment campaign. The intimidation escalated. Fast dead animals appeared on my porch. Possums mostly, though someone upgraded to a raccoon that stank like week-old roadkill. Nails scattered across my driveway, flattened my truck tires twice. Anonymous calls promised. Accidents happen to stubborn old men, always at 3:00 a.m. when the threat felt most real. They blocked access to my own mailbox, claiming it sat on Heritage Meadows. Easement property, sentinel, security guards threatened arrest if I collected my own mail. The irony of stealing mail while accusing me of trespassing wasn't lost on anyone with half a brain. That's when my guardian angel arrived wearing jeans and carrying a notebook. Ruby Morgan, investigative reporter for the Nashville Tribune, had moved to small-town Tennessee, seeking peace after big city burnout. She approached me after watching Channel 7 Seconds. Hatchet job. Her legal reporting instincts screaming that something stunk worse than my septic tank. "Mr. Thornfield," she said, "I've covered enough white-collar crime to recognize a con job mind. If I examine your documentation," Ruby spent 3 days independently reviewing public records, confirming my ownership and discovering Heritage Meadows marketing materials dated 2 years before the alleged purchase. Her experience covering financial fraud taught her that internet archives never lie. The Wayback Machine revealed deleted web pages showing development plans from 2021, proving premeditation. She uncovered Brad's sealed juvenile record for real estate fraud in Kentucky. Our town councilman had previous experience stealing property, just never attempted grand theft on this scale. The county escalated to eminent domain threats, claiming Heritage Meadows provided essential housing for community growth. They appraised my 847 acres at $80,000 agricultural value, ignoring the $12 million residential potential. My water well got contaminated overnight. Cattle started showing poisoning symptoms, traced to Heritage Meadows. Storm drain runoff. The subdivision violated environmental regulations, leaching toxic construction materials into groundwater. Feeding my well and Willow Creek stress finally caught up with me. Hospital admission for chest pains. Doctors recommending conflict reduction and assisted living. That's when Vicky revealed her true nature, visiting with crocodile tears and a $200,000 settlement offer. "Zeke," she whispered, leaning over my hospital bed like a vulture, "this could all disappear tomorrow. Think about your family as dirt. Really worth dying over?" Lying there with heart monitors, beeping antiseptic smell, burning my nostrils and IV needles, pricking my arm, I realized this transcended property disputes. This was about stopping criminals who'd victimized an entire community while hiding behind suburban respectability. Time to fight back. Getting out of that hospital bed felt like waking up from a nightmare into a war zone. While I'd been playing invalid, Vicky and Brad had been busy cementing their theft, with political maneuvering slick enough to make Vegas con artists jealous. Brad introduced an emergency city council resolution to annex Heritage Meadows into Sweetwater Springs, City limits, a bureaucratic masterstroke that hit me like a brick to the skull. The city jurisdiction would override county property laws, placing the subdivision under municipal control, where Brad's influence ran deeper than a Tennessee sinkhole. They'd fast-tracked the vote for 10 days out, buried the notice in legal classifieds where only lawyers and land surveyors dared to tread. Ruby's investigation shifted into overdrive, uncovering document fraud that made Watergate look like amateur hour. Computer forensics revealed Brad's operation was playing copy and paste, with notary stamps, stealing digital signatures from legitimate transactions like a teenager pirating movies. The Eleanor Hutchkins forgery wasn't isolated. They'd been grave-robbing dead notaries' identities across 4 counties. Heritage. Meadows' family started receiving CAMB special assessments that would make a loan shark blush. Vicky demanded thousands per household to fund the legal battle threatening foreclosure for non-payment. She was literally extorting the people shed, supposedly protected, charging them premium prices to defend property they didn't legally own. The irony was thicker than Martha's cornbread. Residents paying to help steal their own money. Several families contacted me, secretly, voices trembling over phone calls made after midnight. When their children were asleep, they'd started questioning why their CAMB queen needed BMW payments to fight one old man with a measuring tape. I hired an independent building inspector using Ruby's newspaper budget. Turns out journalistic integrity sometimes comes with funding for exposing corruption. What he found made my surveyor's soul weep. 47 major code violations, including houses built on wooden platforms over buried swampland without proper septic permits. The electrical systems violated county fire codes so badly that one spark could turn Heritage Meadows into a suburban bonfire. Vicky's desperation peaked when she tried bribing Dr. Stevens to declare me mentally incompetent. $20,000 to falsify dementia diagnosis and recommend guardianship proceedings. The good doctor recorded every word shed. Also hired some bottom feeder private investigator to fabricate stories about my military service, claims so ridiculous that any veteran could debunk them between sips of coffee. The environmental revelation hit like lightning on a golf course. Ruby discovered Heritage Meadows was built over federally protected wetlands, without EPA permits, violating more environmental laws than an oil spill. The original survey had been falsified by Brad's consulting company, claiming sensitive marsh habitat was non-significant. Grassland they destroyed. Rare salamander breeding grounds, triggering endangered species. Act violations carrying 25,000 inches, daily fines. Danny Kowalski finally broke his silence after months of threats against his family. The former construction foreman provided copies of the real environmental survey, plus photos of Brad ordering crews to dump concrete over protected wetlands. Danny had quit rather than participate in environmental destruction, then endured harassment for having a conscience. Apparently, a rare commodity in the construction business these days. Ruby's financial investigation traced Heritage Meadows funding through more shell companies than a 3-card Monte game, connected to overseas accounts that screamed money laundering louder than a tornado siren. The construction loans were secured using my property as collateral, without my knowledge, creating fraud so blatant that bank executives would face federal conspiracy charges when this house of cards collapsed. The homeowner's awakening was brutal and swift. Property deeds were worthless. Title insurance excluded contested land coverage, and families faced losing homes while still owing mortgages on houses they never legally owned. Secret resident meetings sprouted like mushrooms after rain, discussing class action lawsuits against the people. WAD sold them. The American dream built on environmental disaster. Vicky announced a Heritage Meadows Family Festival to demonstrate community support. Her final desperate play for public sympathy. Politicians, law enforcement, and media were invited to witness how normal families were being terrorized by one disturbed neighbor. We scheduled the festival for the same day as the city council annexation vote, planning to pressure politicians with images of children enjoying bounce houses while the crazy old farmer tried to steal their homes. But two can play the timing game. Ruby coordinated federal EPA inspectors to schedule their wetlands investigation for festival day. Danny agreed to testify about environmental cover-ups. Id compiled evidence packages showing the full fraud scope, including my grandfather's 1,924 railroad contracts that these amateurs never researched. The stage was set for a showdown that would expose 2 decades of corruption in front of half the county. The sweet smell of barbecue smoke and cotton candy would soon mix with the acrid stench of burning lies. Vicky thought she was orchestrating a public relations victory to cement her theft. Instead, she was about to learn why you never steal from a man who documents every square inch of dirt in 3 counties. Festival day morning broke with the kind of oppressive humidity that makes Tennessee summers legendary and tempers shorter than a roadside firecracker. Heritage. Meadows looked like Norman Rockwell's. Fever. Dream. Red, white, and blue. Bunting. Draped over stolen land. Children's. Laughter. Echoing across wetlands that had been murdered for suburban sprawl. Vicky orchestrated her final performance at the festival gazebo, staging a public settlement meeting with all the subtlety of a Broadway musical. Shed brought microphones, speakers, and an oversized cardboard check for $300,000 playing to cameras, like she was accepting an Academy Award for Best Supporting Victim. Ladies and gentlemen, she announced to the gathering crowd, dabbing her eyes with tissues that looked suspiciously dry. I am here to demonstrate how reasonable people can resolve conflicts without destroying families. The oversized check fluttered in the breeze like a surrender flag made of lies. I played my part in this theatrical farce, pretending to consider her offer, while federal agents positioned around the festival like pieces on a chessboard. The smell of barbecue smoke and cotton candy couldn't mask the metallic taste of justice approaching faster than a summer thunderstorm. Dr. Sarah Lightfoot arrived discreetly during the children's puppet show, carrying EPA testing equipment disguised in a family picnic basket. She began soil and water sampling around the festival area, discovering fresh concrete poured over wetlands overnight evidence. Tampering that added federal obstruction charges to the growing list. Ruby's financial investigation had uncovered the international money laundering connection that morning. Heritage. Meadows was funded through Russian shell companies, connected to a real estate fraud ring operating in 12 states. Brad Ashworth wasn't just a small-town crook. He was connected to an international criminal enterprise that made local corruption look like shoplifting candy bars. Maria Santos, the elementary school teacher who lived in Heritage Meadows, with her 2 young daughters, approached Ruby during the face-painting activity. Her hands trembled as she showed forged notary signatures on her deed, recognizing Brad's handwriting from his campaign materials. I trusted them, Maria whispered, glancing nervously at her children getting butterfly designs painted on their cheeks. The media ambush came during the lunch hour, when Brad arranged a surprise television interview to attack my credibility. Channel 7 seconds. Cameras rolled as he portrayed me as a confused elderly man, endangering innocent families with delusions about property ownership that threatened children's safety. The interview was interrupted by federal marshals, serving arrest warrants live on television. Brad's face transformed from smug confidence to panic, faster than a teenager, caught shoplifting as handcuffs clicked around his wrist during the ferrying broadcast. His protests about deep state conspiracies and government overreach played perfectly for evening news sound bites, creating viral social media content that destroyed any remaining credibility. Vicky's meltdown began when she realized Brad's arrest exposed their entire conspiracy. Standing beside the bounce house, where toddlers played innocent games, she started screaming at federal agents about constitutional rights and government. persecution. Federal agents escorted Vicky into a transport vehicle, her perfectly coiffed hair finally surrendering to the humidity of justice. From the back of the police car, Vicky screamed her final outburst about people not deserving nice homes. The racial slurs that followed revealed the true character behind her suburban mask. The discriminatory motives Ruby had suspected all along were finally exposed on camera, confirming the environmental destruction was tied to racial targeting. The festival day had become a public execution of corruption, broadcast live across social media and picked up by national news networks. Justice served cold, with a side of environmental protection, all witnessed by half of Tennessee. 6 months later, Heritage Meadows stood like a suburban ghost town, yellow EPA tape fluttering in the Tennessee breeze, where manicured lawns once spread their artificial perfection. The sweet scent of honeysuckle had returned, mixing with morning dew, and the earthy smell of healthy soil. As nature reclaimed stolen land, my cattle grazed peacefully where cookie-cutter McMansions once squatted, like architectural tumors, proving that good land always outlasts bad ideas. The legal aftermath delivered justice with federal efficiency that would make Martha smile from heaven. Vicky Ashworth got 15 years in federal prison. Apparently, orange jumpsuits don't come with CAMB badges. Brad received 20 years for racketeering, while Sheriff Mike Ashworth and 3 city council members earned 5-year vacations, courtesy of the federal penitentiary system. New oversight requirements mean future property thieves will need better lawyers and bigger bribes, highlighting the necessity of federal intervention in local corruption. 23 Heritage Meadows families accepted my rent-to-own offers, building sustainable homes on properly zoned land that respected environmental regulations and actual property rights. Maria Santos became our community liaison, her children now playing in clean streams where toxic runoff once flowed. Watching kids catch salamanders in restored wetlands reminded me why we fought so hard. The Thornfield Foundation launched with $20 million from the property windfall, funding scholarships for first-generation college students who understand that honest work beats suburban scheming every time. The Martha Thornfield Memorial Library anchors Sweetwater Springs downtown, offering free legal aid clinics that help property owners protect themselves from corporate predators with clipboards and fake smiles. 400 acres became the Thornfield Wildlife Sanctuary, protecting endangered salamanders and wetlands that educate future generations about environmental stewardship. The Climate Research Station attracts scientists from 3 universities, proving conservation and education create more jobs than fraudulent development ever could. Ruby's Pulitzer Prize launched her Washington Post career, but she returns annually for our Thornfield Heritage Festival. Her Emmy-winning documentary about Heritage Meadows became required viewing in journalism. Schools, teaching students that good reporting can literally save communities from destruction. Danny Kowalski testified before Congress about construction, corruption, strengthening whistleblower protections that bear his name. His environmental restoration company employs other workers who chose conscience over corporate pressure. Turns out, honesty pays better than fraud, with significantly less risk of federal prosecution. I teach surveying at the community college, now sharing 40 years of experience with students who will protect the next generation from boundary disputes and property fraud. Key lesson: accurate measurements and honest documentation built America. Everything else is just expensive decoration. Our annual Heritage Festival celebrates authentic local history with crafts, music, and storytelling that honor genuine community values. Former enemies collaborate on planning committees, proving shared purpose heals divisions created by greed faster than any therapy session. Environmental recovery exceeded our wildest hopes. Endangered species return to restored wetlands. Educational boardwalks allow school groups to study ecosystem recovery. Research data helps farmers adapt to climate change while protecting sensitive habitats. The metallic taste of morning mist over healthy wetlands beats suburban chlorine any day. Personal healing came, like Tennessee. Sunrise gradually, then suddenly painting everything in colors. Martha loved. I visit her grave each evening, reporting community progress and scholarship recipients who benefit from our stand against corruption. Her journal's final entry still guides me. Zeke fights for what's right, not what's easy. Here's what this taught me. Standing up for what's right often means standing alone initially. But honest documentation and principled allies attract good people to your cause. My grandfather understood that land represents responsibility to future generations who deserve better than environmental destruction disguised as progress. Property rights matter because they protect families from predators who exploit the American dream for profit. When someone tries to steal your land, they're stealing your family's history and your children's future. What have you battled CAMB nightmares or property disputes? Share your story in the comments below. Your experience might provide the courage another family needs to fight back against professional thieves hiding behind community development. Together we can expose fraud before it destroys more families. Subscribe to CAMB Stories for more tales of ordinary people defeating extraordinary corruption. Your support helps us investigate small-town fraud, proving that justice prevails when honest folks unite against suburban schemes and environmental destruction. Thanks for watching CAMB Stories. If this episode made you laugh or shake your head at CAMB madness, hit that like button and drop your opinion below. We post CAMB Karen chaos and neighborhood showdowns every week, so be sure to subscribe to catch the next unbelievable story. The story concludes with Zeke standing on his reclaimed land at sunset, wearing his grandfather's surveyor compass. Heritage Meadows fades to ghost town status. Yellow EPA tape and warning signs fluttering in evening breeze. Vicky appears for one final moment in federal prison. Orange jumpsuit, replacing designer blazer. Her perfectly coiffed hair, now uniform prison cut. She's surrounded by other inmates, many of whom have survived similar suburban cons and recognize the predatory playbook. The national impact exceeded our expectations. FBI investigations uncovered similar schemes in 47 communities, shutting down $2.3 billion in fraudulent developments. Congressional task forces created federal property verification requirements that protect families from professional thieves, masquerading as community developers. I teach surveying at the community college, now sharing 40 years of experience with students who will protect the next generation from boundary disputes and property fraud. The final image shows Zeke's surveyor compass mounted on the wall of the Martha Thornfield Memorial Library as a symbol of honest measurement and community protection. The compass spins slowly as the video fades to black, representing the ongoing journey of justice and environmental restoration. Credit text appears with names of victims who found justice, real people who survived real suburban corruption and chose to fight back. The final text appears: to all who have faced CAMB, corruption, and environmental theft, this story is your story. Your courage changes communities. Restored wetlands. With healthy water flow, salamanders thriving in clean habitat, birds returning to protected sanctuary. Thornfield Wildlife Sanctuary sign stands at entrance with logo showing surveyor, compass, and salamander integration, symbol of balance. School groups on educational boardwalk, learning about ecosystem recovery and environmental stewardship with climate scientists. The closing message: accurate measurements and honest documentation built America. Everything else is just expensive decoration. Fade to black with sound of surveyor's compass needle. Finding true north, steady, clicking mechanical sound, representing integrity and direction. Thornfield Heritage Festival returns annually, celebrating authentic community with live music, crafts, and storytelling, honoring real values. Zeke, at age 70, continues teaching, giving speeches about property rights and environmental protection, inspiring new generations. Ruby's Washington Post investigations continue exposing fraud nationally. Her annual Heritage Meadows coverage keeps public aware. Danny's Environmental Restoration Company has completed over 150 wetland projects, winning national awards for sustainable development. Maria Santos directs the Martha Thornfield Foundation Scholarship Program, placing 500-plus first-generation college students in higher education. The Martha Thornfield Memorial Library Legal Aid Clinic has defended 1,000-plus property owners from predatory practices. CAMB stories. YouTube channel credits roll. The final message appears: dedication to honest documentation and community protection. Video ends with viewers encouraged to subscribe, share, document their own stories, and unite against fraud.